if you are someone who's developing sites and building sites, like have your processes and best practices documented so that the developer can follow those for you as well. Because like you mentioned, there's a million ways to do things. And I think people watching this, if they are a developer, they know there's a million ways, but there's the way that they want it done, right? And they want anyone that works on their team to do it that way as well. So making sure you have those processes documented when you're bringing someone on the team is a huge help as well.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. Today, I'm joined by Emily Hunkler. She's the COO of GoWP, which is an organization that helps agencies scale through a variety of services. Emily, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I apologize. My voice is a little shot. We just got back from our first big summit where I was shouting at people for 5 straight days. So apologies if I sound a little coarse or rough around the edges, but Emily, I am super excited to talk. We got to hang out at TNC not too long ago. And then I joined you for a webinar the other day, which was a lot of fun. So I'm happy to have you back on the show. Can you start us off with a little bit of an origin story around GoWP? How did you guys, where did this all come from?
Yeah, so GoWP has been around for, I think since 2014. So whatever math that is now, 8 years. And we started out as a agency providing maintenance and support plans to direct businesses and white labeling it for agencies as well. In 2000,
WordPress specific?
WordPress specific.
Comes from?
Yeah, WordPress specific, exactly. So in 2018, we really honed in on the agency space. So we stopped serving direct businesses. We referred all that business out to our agency partners. So we were able to kind of, refer people out, give people more business while growing our customer base of digital agencies. And at that time, we were still managed maintenance and support. So that's all of your updates, plugin updates, core updates, security scans, malware cleanup, backups, all of that. And then we have 24/7 support as well, which are basically any tasks that you can do through the WP admin dashboard. 30 minutes or less, our team takes care of that for you. What the majority of our agency partners do is set up a white label inbox with us, and they are bypassed completely. And it just comes straight to our team. They take care of it, and it's all done under the branding of the agency. So that's what we had been doing for now like 8 years. We still do it, and it's still a growing part of our business. But in 2019, we kind of expanded out into dedicated services. And that is where we have a network of vetted and assessed WordPress developers, copywriters, designers, VAs, and we place them with agencies when they need them. It's a monthly service, so it's a little bit different than that project-based work that you're doing with Upwork, Fiverr, those other companies out there. And it's a little bit more consultative. So we find out what you need, and we match you with someone that works for your team. And we have developers and copywriters and designers who have been working with agencies for some of them over 2 years now. So it's a really cool service. It's really helped agencies be able to scale and grow without having to, waste a bunch of time with the hiring, which is time consuming, as we have learned.
So I'm going to guess that you guys internally, and it's probably you where this comes from, being as a COO, are very structured and systematic. I feel like, back in the days when we were all kind of running agencies together, some of us were just more put together. And those were the folks that we kind of sought out as far as like, hey, we don't really want to have to grow this whole other division. It's someone told me that you're doing it and doing it really well. Could you, we white label it. And so it makes sense at some point you probably just looked around and said, hey, we're kind of have this together. We could better serve a community of agencies than direct businesses, right?
Yeah, exactly. That is a lot of what it was. And it was also working with agencies. Back before we were GoWP, our founder, Brad Morrison, ran an agency, a traditional full service agency, South Point Media. And he always was doing white label work for other agency owners and freelancers. Like it was just part of what they did. And then it was through working with them that they said, oh, we've got something here with this maintenance and support. Like, let's just hone in on that and just do that, do what we're good at, do what we enjoy. And what other people hate a lot of times are those, nagging, like, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you update this? Post a blog post, those sorts of things. So that's where that came from. And then our other services have really rolled out from there as well, listening to our agency partners and hearing what they need help with. And we go and figure it out and create kind of a service in a box, right? So how can we do it? How can we scale it? And now let's go offer it and get the feedback and make it better and keep it going.
So that's interesting. From the WordPress, sort of back end type of support, your community told you what they wanted most next was around hiring?
Yes, not exactly. So it started with a service that we still have. It's landing page builds. Okay. And it was a few of our customers. They said, it'd be great if I could just give you a PSD file and your devs could just build it out. We're like, oh, we could do that. We could definitely do that. So we started with that. We went out and we hired more devs ourselves so that we could, grow that service. And it did grow. And we did a full launch and we got a bunch of customers on it. And we were building out pages from PSD files. Then the feedback started coming in like, oh, it'd be great if I could work directly with the developer. And we're like, well, that doesn't scale as well because then we don't know how to prepare a developer for working individually directly with everybody, and things can be different. And that's really just makes it a lot more complicated to scale that service. And so at first we were kind of hesitant. And then we said, why don't we just do that? Why don't we just we're already finding these great developers. They're working well with us. They're great. We have more. We have more in our hiring pipeline that we know are going to be great as well. We're not ready to hire them yet. We're waiting until we have the demand, right? So then we just said, okay, why don't we try that? You take the developer, you manage them. They're yours. We found them. We assess them. We know that we're confident that they can do what you want them to do. And let's go from there. And that took off. I mean, that was the game changer there. It's like, oh, perfect. Now I actually have a developer on my team that I can work with. I can give them this. If I don't have pages for them to build, I can give them, edits and things like that I need done, all of those sorts of things. So from there, it just kind of blew up and we were like, okay, well, let's go find some copywriters because we started hearing people need copywriters. Let's go find some designers. And that's what takes time is getting the hiring pipeline right and the assessments and making sure we're getting the right talent in. But yeah, that's kind of how that all came to be.
Let me ask you a WordPress specific question, if I may. I used to run a team of WordPress designers and developers, specifically developers. And it was always interesting for me to see the framework, like our preferred framework, evolve. For a while, we built all our sites using Beaver Builder, which I thought was hysterical. I was like, this is really the best one. It's called Beaver Builder. And they're like, yeah, no, it's the best one out right now. Okay, great. So we use Beaver Builder. And then in the last few years before I left the agency, we had started switching everything over to a framework called Oxygen, which was pretty cool. I'm just curious to hear, what are you guys using? Is there a new fancy one that's out, or is it some of the old stuff still going strong?
I mean, it's some of the old stuff still going strong for sure. We are seeing a bit of a pickup in people, looking for Gutenberg block editor developers, which it's just funny because that is the native WordPress developer, and having to ask, do you have anyone that actually does that? I was like, yeah, of course, because there's so few people, have been so few people really jumping on that wagon, but it's picking up for sure. Other than that, Elementor is a big one. A lot of our agency partners use Elementor. Beaver Builder is still going strong and people love it. I mean, there are loyal Beaver Builder users for sure. Nice. Oxygen became popular there for a bit, and I think people are still using that. But yeah, that's one of the things we assess for. So we make sure our devs, we find out what page builders they're familiar with. For the most part, they're good across the board, and are confident in learning new ones if they don't already know it. But yeah, those are the big ones for sure.
Very cool. So when I joined you was that last week? No, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It seemed very clear that you guys have developed a really cool, vibrant, close-knit community. Is that something that Like, are they all your customers, or do you have a community on top of your customer base?
Yeah, so that community is on top of our customer base. A lot of them are our customers or have been in the past. And if they haven't or aren't, we hope that they will be, obviously. But but it is on top of that customer base. So that's really kind of the top of our marketing funnel, I guess. All we're doing, like what we're pushing for, really on the website, if it's not purchasing or scheduling a call, it's to join our community. Like, come join us over on Facebook. We do lots of cool things. We have that bi-weekly call where we all just jump on a Zoom together and talk. It's a vibrant community, like you said. It's the WordPress space. So if you're familiar with it, you know that people care about each other. People like to connect, friendly, feel good, all of that kind of stuff. So we've been building that community for a few years now and keeping it going strong.
Nice. Yeah, it seemed like a great place. So if you're working with WordPress, I would highly suggest, whether or not you work with GoWP directly, you should join the community, because it seemed like a lot of really cool folks that were definitely down to help each other out.
Yeah, thanks.
Talk to me about how, so for a while, the agency that I used to run, we were outsourcing services to other agencies. We shut it down after, I don't know, 6 months or a year, because we kept running into situations where the people that were purchasing our services were not aligning with the way that we have to track and price things, right? So it was like, oh, I know you guys just built out that page that I asked you to build out, but now the client wants to go redesign some elements of it. When can you have that done? And we'd be like, well, you can go purchase another product. And they're like, no, they're not going to pay more. Are you kidding me? Like, blah, blah, blah. I told them it would be done by Friday. And we'd be like, well, why would you tell them that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, the challenges that come with not only managing the creative process, but managing it through a white labeler.
Yeah. So what's nice about our service, we have both of those, right? So if you're looking at our content edits and our maintenance plans, those are very much in a box, and we do not go outside of that box. If you're an agency owner and your customer comes to us and says, I need you to do this, and it's something that is not a 30-minute task that can be done through the admin dashboard, we're not going to do it, because once you start going outside of that box, it messes up the whole scalability of the service, right? And we have thousands and thousands of sites on this service, so we have to keep things in a box. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the dedicated services, though, and that's what will happen if we have people on with a bunch of sites on our content edits plan or something like that, and they're having issues, and their customers saying, yeah, but your support team won't do this, or your support team won't do that. We talk to them about just, why don't you get a dedicated developer? Hire one of our developers. They'll be on your team, available they can do all of what's being done on your content edit plan. They can do all of that, and they can do a lot more than that too, obviously, because they'll do whatever you ask them to do within their skill set, right? So it's not just those 30-minute tasks. So that's why we offer both. And that's what's great about the dedicated services, is they're yours to work with directly. You set up your communication tempo, you set up how to communicate with them. If you need them to go back and rebuild a page that you had previously had them build the week before, that's fine, because they're there with you for 10, 20, 40 hours a week, whatever your plan is, and they'll do whatever, asked to do during that time. So that's, and that experience that you kind of talked about is why we developed this plan the way we did. And that's why landing page builds doesn't work for some people either. Because it's in a box, and it's like, no, you can get another one. We got to buy another one, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So that's how it is. Yeah.
That's it's a very interesting sort of, like, people that have never done it, it's very hard to kind of articulate how hard it is to manage a creative process, right? Like, taking a PST and coding it pixel perfect, no problem. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. A developer can look at you and give you an estimate of time and be pretty accurate. But the process of keeping a client like, okay, you're signing off on this design, right? And not have them come back wanting more. Holy moly, how did you get in here?
Oh.
You kick this guy out. He likes to come in and see this bobblehead on my.
I was expecting a dog from the barking earlier.
I don't know. Bye-bye. See. That's funny. I heard him coming, but normally he can't open the door, but the
Yeah.
door's sorry
They
for the
grow. Yeah. No, don't worry about it.
so yeah, that's cool. So talk to me about, you mentioned you can get them for like certain set hours a week and stuff like that. I think that's very cool because it helps you kind of scale your own agency, right? A lot of times we're at the point where we're like, well, I need someone to help me, but I can't afford a full-time dev. And here's something that I don't think a lot of people realize, and hopefully it helps you guys out if you're watching this and you're new to sort of WordPress in general, but you know you want to build on that platform. What was really eye-opening to me when we started building our WordPress team was that there are developers that know PHP, and then there are WordPress developers. Like the people that we hired very clearly classified themselves as WordPress developers. And I think before meeting them, I kind of thought anybody who knows PHP is a WordPress developer. Can you talk to me about the difference there?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be the most articulate in this conversation. I'm not the technical brains behind the outfit here. But right now, we vet and assess WordPress developers. They do have other skills, and some of our developers are great React developers, and some of them are, great at other things as well. But what our service is at the moment is WordPress developers. So that those are people who can do custom coding. They know CSS and all of those sorts of things as well. I don't think that I'm able to talk about it too much more in depth on the technicalities of it all.
I think you reiterated the point, which was that if you just go to Upwork and say, like, search for somebody to help you with a WordPress task, you're going to get lots of people saying that they can do it. But if you're working with not a real WordPress developer, they're often going to do it in a way that like someone on, I'm sure, GoWP's lineup would look at it and be like, what the heck? Like, why would, you know what I mean? And so that's why I think it's really important to not go necessarily to like an Upwork if you need a WordPress task, but to find folks like GoWP who are working with people in the WordPress community that do things the way that WordPress or Elementor or Beaver Builder or whatever wants it to be done.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a really good point you make there too, because one of the things we always kind of advise when you're working with us or when we're talking about working together with our developers, copywriters and designers as well, and all of that, but making sure if you are someone who's developing sites and building sites, like have your processes and best practices documented so that the developer can follow those for you as well. Because like you mentioned, there's a million ways to do things. And I think people watching this, if they are a developer, they know there's a million ways, but there's the way that they want it done, right? And they want anyone that works on their team to do it that way as well. So making sure you have those processes documented when you're bringing someone on the team is a huge, huge help as well.
Awesome. So Emily, what's next for GoWP? I know you guys are doing these services that we talked about. You're doing copywriting. What's the future look like?
Yeah, so we've got copywriting. We started out with developers. We've got copywriters. We have designers. We have virtual assistants. We're not currently working on expanding the positions right now. That is something we hope to do in the future. We do definitely want to expand WordPress developers. So we have a lot of people coming to us for plugin building and a lot of different kind of development work. So we definitely want to expand the types of developers we're bringing on, and we have done it small scale a little bit, but we're looking to scale that up a bit. But really, we just have such a high demand for these services that it's making sure we're keeping our hiring pipeline full and getting in good talent, finding the places to discover that talent, because we are hiring and recruiting globally across the entire world. So making sure we're getting good talent in so that we can keep filling these positions for agencies and helping them to grow. Because we have right now we're really low capacity on developers. Copywriters are running out, so we're just amping that up at the moment.
Very cool. I'm eager to see. It looks like our communities are continuing to overlap more and more. I know there's a bunch of high-level users on that webinar we did together.
Yep.
So that was cool to see. If you guys are watching and you're interested, the URL is gowp.com, right?
Yep, that's right. GoWP.com.
It's a great domain.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was hard to get when you got it.
Where it's not great though, there's a lot of, and it's changing a little bit, but there's some platforms that don't let you have 4-letter like just 4-letter names. So we always have to be GoWP services, GoWP this.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never
it's
heard of
happened.
such a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting. Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming by to chat with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great talking, Chase. It's always good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.